Today we will discuss operator overloading, one of the polymorphism, one of the type of the polymorphism rather, right? So continuing from the last class, as we have discussed, polymorphism is one of the important feature of object-oriented programming system, which can be classified into static or compile-time polymorphism and dynamic or runtime polymorphism, right? Static polymorphism we can achieve in C++ with the help of function overloading and operator overloading, right? And runtime polymorphism, of course, with the help of virtual functions, right? So static polymorphism we have achieved it with the help of function overloading in the last class, and as well operator overloading, but we will probably elaborate the same and have the glance of both today in today's class. So function overloading, as we said, having more than one function with same name by changing the parameter in number, order, and type. Okay. So operator overloading. Coming to operator overloading, when you have like basically the type of operators that you find in C++ are unary operator, binary operator, and ternary operator, right? So here these operators are meant to be performed on built-in data type, for which the specification are available as part of the compiler of your C++ programming language. Fine, but then if the same kind of operators have to be performed on the user-defined type, then we say it is an operator overloading. We have in C++ operator keyword, with the help of which we can probably implement the operators on the user-defined data types in a very similar fashion how we perform it on the built-in type. Okay, so fine. So for example, if you have a built-in type like integer or float kind, wherein when you are performing the addition operation, how do you perform? By saying C equal to A plus B, right? Similarly, if you have ABC of float kind, you can say C equal to A plus B, right? So for built-in kind, this kind of operator provision is available to perform the addition operation, which is very much similar to that of your real-time world of mathematics kind. Okay, but then we wanted to implement it on the user-defined data type. That is our main motive behind implementing this operator overloading, right? So if you have complex numbers, fine. Generally, complex numbers consist of two parts, right? Real and imaginary part. So how is it going to be represented in the form of A plus IB, right? And if you want to add two complex numbers, how do you add? You add the real parts, then you add the imaginary parts, right? If you have A plus IB and C plus ID like this, then you add, here. Yeah, you add the real part, that is A and C here. You can say so A plus C plus I, and the imaginary part is BD here. So B plus D plus I of B plus D, you can say, right? Okay, so now with the help of operator keyword available in C++, I wanted to bring the same kind of feeling when I'm performing it on user-defined data types, like such as class of complex kind. A equal to B plus C. Fine. A equal to B plus C. So this we try to here implement with the help of an example, and that example. So in this example here, complex we have taken it as a class and consists of two members, real and imaginary part. Real and image, and then here we have one complex constructor, complex class constructor, default constructor, in which I have initialized the values of both real and image as 0, and then I have read function to read the values for the complex number, and print function to print the same, right? And here this operator plus function will of course allow me to get the statement equivalent to the mathematics, right, when I'm performing addition operation over these two complex numbers. So you can see here this operator plus function, I have taken it as a member function of this complex class, and you can see here it is taking complex object reference as an argument, fine, and I'll make this as constant, otherwise I'll remove this. Okay, complex constant object reference is an argument and returning the complex kind. Okay, fine. So in read function, we are reading the real and imaginary part of the same, and print, we are printing it. Okay, now in operator plus function, here you can see the code wherein you are passing one object as an argument, right? Object reference here I am having as a formal argument. So the object which you are going to pass, while you are calling this particular function will be referred through OB here in this particular function. And when I say OB.real, it is referring to the object which is passed as an argument. And when I say just real, it is referring to the object for which this particular function is called. And both these objects are being added, and the result will be stored in the resulting object, which we have taken here as a local variable of this, right, function. Then you can see here we are returning the result. And in the main function, we are creating objects of the complex class ABC, and we are reading values for the same. And then you can see here when you are performing the operation, these two complex objects A plus B, we are just showing as if it is very similar to that of built-in kind, right? When you have integer, float, or long double kind of variables, when you perform the addition over the same, how do you say C equal to A plus B? Very similar fashion you are doing it, though they are complex, user-defined type, right? So this is what is said to be the operator overloading. Fine. So overloading the burden of the operator, we are making it possible here with the help of this operator keyword, of course, right, which is said to be the operator overloading. So after performing the operation, we are printing the result here, right? So let me execute once and see the result. Yeah, it's asking for the first complex number. Let us say the first complex number is 1 plus I2, okay? And second complex number is 4C. Here I have given 1 plus I2, right? And the second one is 3 plus I4. 1 plus 3 is going to be 4. 4 plus I4, or 2 plus 4 is going to be 6. You can see 4 plus I6 you can find here. Yes. So let me just look at this here program. How is it being executed? And then I'll probably the same code which I have shown you yesterday, which I have rather explained you yesterday as well. The same thing I have executed. Sometimes it raises that kind of runtime error because of proper memory being not available at that particular online server. Okay, otherwise there was no problem with the code. Now you can see this time when I have tried, you can find the output here, right? So now let me just quickly look at this program. How is it being executed? You can see here we have three variables A, B, C. Okay. So complex A, B, C, when you create three variables of A, B, C, for A memory being allocated, and for B and for C, right? And all of them are of which kind? Complex kind. So complex consists of how many variables? Real and image, right? So for real and image, both of them are integers, so 2 bytes each is going to be allocated for A, B, and C, right? And then constructor when being called, because there is a default constructor also in the particular complex class wherein we have initialized real and image to be 0. So it is going to automatically being called here whenever this objects are being created. So all of them are equipped with here 0 values, right? Now you're calling read function for A. When you call read function, this is the read function here. It is reading both real and image. Let us say you have read as 1 and 2. So this is going to be 1 and 2 here. Then b dot read, when you say, again this read function is called, then again real and image is going to be read. So let us say that values which you have read are going to be 3 and 4, right? Okay. Now after this, we have C equal to A plus B. Now we try to look at this, how is going to be called. C, in this particular C equal to A plus B, the interpretation of this C equal to A plus B is nothing but the object for which the function is being called is the A. It's going to be like this. Basically, when the functions are required to be called through the object, how do you access? How do you invoke? With the help of a membership operator called dot, right? So the function name we have given as operator plus. So the traditional way of calling the function is going to be with the help of its name means operator plus. So if I have to call it through A, means A dot operator plus. Yes or no? Plus. And it is taking one object as an argument, the same class object. So B, of course, it is a complex class object only, so which you are going to pass here, right? So this is how exactly in a traditional way, which is going to be allowed in C++. But then in place of this A dot operator plus of B, we are writing A plus B. This, C++ is giving us a kind of privilege to us, right? With the help of which it is able to allow us to, overload the operators. Fine. Operator is anyway keyword, so which is going to be taken care even if you don't, call it, provided the function name was operator over there, and followed by there is a symbol. That symbol itself is enough, which is going to act as a function name here, right? And dot is anyway the membership operator, which is a specification as part of the programming language, which is probably been notified by the compiler. So that's not a problem. That's a system will understand that rather. So dot and operator is been overruled, right? So they are not required to be here mentioned. So just the plus, and parenthesis is also specification. So it has allowed you to remove this. So that's how you can see this is the traditional way of calling, but then which is equivalent to C equal to A plus B. Fine, C equal to A plus B. So because of which I can say it is an operator overloading, because for built-in type, when you have integer or any other kind, wherein when you are performing the operator overloading concept, you say C equal to A plus B, right? The similar kind of statement you are able to write for the object kind, which is nothing but user-defined kind, right? So that is where we are saying it is an operator overloading. I hope this is clear to all of you, right? So when this particular function, see, when you say C equal to A plus B, what is happening is nothing but operator plus function is being called by passing B as an argument. So let me just look at what is going to happen here. When the function is being called here, this is the operator plus function. Yes or no? This is the operator plus function which is being called. So this is nothing but equivalent to this. The interpretation of A plus B is nothing but A dot operator plus of B, right? So operator plus is the function name which is going to be called by passing B as an argument. So B you have passed as an argument to here OB. So OB is going to refer whom? B, right? Yes or no? And here when you say simple real, which is nothing but referring whom, the object to which this particular function is being called, which is the object in running now A. So this real is nothing but A dot real. So what is A dot real? That is 1. So this is going to be 1 here, 1 plus, right? 1 plus OB dot real is nothing but what? B dot real, which is nothing but 3, right? 1 plus 3. That is being stored in RES. RES is a local variable for which also memory is going to be allocated for its real and image. Okay. So in its real, what do you get? You get 4 here, and then the image, normal image, when you say it is nothing but A dot image, it is nothing but 2 here, right? 2 plus, and OB dot image is nothing but, OB is pointing to whom? B. So B dot image is nothing but 4, right? 2 plus 4 is going to be 6. That is going to be stored in res, right? After then you are returning this res, right? Since you are returning res, which is of complex kind, return type you have given as complex, right? So when you are returning this res, which is going to be here, you can see in the main function, you know, in the main function that is being stored here in C, right? That is being stored here in C. So these values are going to be copied in C the other way around, right? So now when you are printing C, you can see in the next statement, what did you say? Yes, C dot print, right? Here you said C dot print. When you say C dot print, print function is being called here. You can see it is printing a real plus I image. So what is the real? C dot real? It is nothing but 4 plus I6. I hope this is clear to all of you, right? So here I wanted to add one more thing in the same example. Is any doubt here? Yeah, we'll talk about this pointer. What is this pointer? Basically, this pointer, refers the current object. Fine. This pointer refers the current object or the object which is in execution. This is a keyword, of course, available in C++, which is going to act like a pointer pointing to the current object, the object which is in execution. Fine. So in this case, when operator plus function is being called here, okay, when operator plus function is being called here, you can see here, this is the operator for plus function is being called. So I said real and image are pointing to whom? The current object. So these current object members, I can refer it through this pointer as well. Okay. In order to distinguish that OB is pointing to the object which is passed as an argument when the function is being called, and this real, this particular real or image are pointing to which particular real and image, nothing but, as I said, the object which is in execution. In case of C equal to A plus B, what did I say? A is the object which is in execution. A plus B interpretation is nothing but what? A dot operator plus of B. So the object which is in execution is nothing but A, and through that object you are calling operator plus function, yes or no? And B you are passing as an argument. So OB is going to refer to B, of course, that is fine. But current object is nothing but A. So I can refer this A with the help of this pointer also. So here in place of this real, I can say this pointed real and this pointed image. That way also I can access it. Of course, when I say real and image, it is nothing but A's real and image itself. To just explicitly mention that this real and image are belonging to the object which is in execution, which generally points by this. Okay, that I wanted to show you. Is it okay? I'll change this with this pointer and then execute the same and show you the result. Right? So a small change that I am making here is nothing but this is a pointer. So the membership operator, you have to take it as arrow. Got it? We will use arrow as the membership operator or dereferencing operator, we call it as, right? Got it? So similarly, image, when I say this image is actually pointing to whom? The object which is in execution. The object which is in execution is being pointed to this pointer. So I'm using this pointer here again. Okay, now let me again execute and see. This is the only change which I want to make to the existing program in order to demonstrate this this pointer concept here. I'm executing it for the same example, 1 plus 2i and 3 plus 4i. You can see the same output I got. Yes or no? I hope the advantage of having this pointer concept is clear. Basically, this pointer refers to whom? The object which is in execution. So when I say C equal to A plus B, basically the interpretation of A plus B is nothing but what? A dot operator plus of B, I said, yes or no? So the object which is in execution is nothing but A. Fine. If I simply say real and image also, that's fine, because the object which is in execution are implicitly, pointed by without the object name rather, right? The object which is in execution implicitly pointed by without the object name. But if you want to point to the object which is in execution explicitly, then you can use this pointer. This is the only advantage of having this pointer concept. This was there actually in first unit. I have tried to make you clear with the proper example here in this example, right? I hope this is clear to all of you. Is it clear? Similarly, I can probably have the proper code to be written for overloading the different kind of operators, not only on complex numbers, but as well on matrices and vectors and the strings and all. I can do that, right? I'll give you one assignment on matrix. You try to work out with matrix, all matrix addition, subtraction, multiplication. If I have a matrix class, and operator plus, operator minus, operator into code I must have defined inside the class matrix, let us say, then having the matrix class objects such as A, B, C, I should be directly allowed to perform the matrix addition like C equal to A plus B, and subtraction like C equal to A minus B, into like C equal to A into B. So this I wanted to do it, right? Which helps to improve the readability in the coding, right? For the novice users. And at the same time, this operator already concept basically simplify the code at the same time, right? I hope this is clear to all of you. So complex number example I have given you here with addition, but if you have to implement it for subtraction, you have to say instead of plus minus symbol, and then you will have the code for complex subtraction, complex number subtraction. Similarly for multiplication, how do you multiply if you have A plus IB into C plus ID? A square, A into C, AC, A into D, AID, so IAD plus I into BC, IBC. I square is going to be minus, right? So minus BD, I can say, right? So it is nothing but what? The real part of the resulting operand when you perform the multiplication on two complex numbers of the generalized form A plus IB and C plus ID is nothing but AC minus BD plus I into AD plus BC. Yes or no? So code has to be written in a proper way to ensure that this kind of real and image you are going to get for the resulting operand. Fine. Here, then multiplication operation also can be defined. So in a single complex class, you can have all plus operator minus operator into, and then you can have a user-defined choice with the help of switch case and allow the user to perform all three different kind of operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, based on his desire at different executions over different times rather, right? That also can be as one of your assignments. So I'll probably give you this two as your assignments. See, when you're working out with assignment, if you're not unable to get it, you can always get back to me. I will, explain it. If it is a generalized one, I can probably explain again in the class. But make sure that the concepts are to be clear. Fine. See, if the concepts are clear, then writing more and more programs is very easy on your part when you are provided with the proper specification of the assignment. Okay, I hope this is clear to all of you, right? Generally, see, the real-time friendship, is what exactly tried to brought here in the C++ programming. So, like in general as well in real time, you can see a friend can be a friend of more than one friend. Yes or no? And a friend can probably own some of his friends' property sometimes, like pen and book and all kind of thing. He can borrow it for some time and complete the notes and return back, or some of his holdings, like bike or other thing. Also, he can probably take and return it, right? In a very similar fashion here, a function when becomes a friend of a particular class, it can access the members of that particular class. Generally, accessing the properties of a particular class, we have seen with the help of inheritance is possible at any other class. Yes or no? In inheritance, we have seen that the properties of certain classes of base kind can be accessible at any other derived class by inheriting the same here, right? So in a very similar fashion, this is alternate way of accessing the other class properties. Fine. Okay, I can say. So friend function basically what exactly it does is it makes the friendship with the certain classes, and it cannot it can if it wants to become the friend of more than one class, there is always a possibility that it can become a friend of more than one class, right? So like a friend can be friend of more than one friend. Yes or no? So in a similar fashion, a function can be a friend of one class, or it can be a friend of more than one class as well, right? So if it is a friend of one class, then probably its properties it can access and it can manipulate. It will have the direct provision of manipulating the data of the particular class. Similarly, if it is a friend of multiple classes, then it can probably access the properties of these multiple classes, okay, and then it can manipulate them. Okay, that kind of provision is available, or privilege is available with the help of this friend function concept. So I'll try to demonstrate here the friend function concept first, and then we will see it with the help of an example, right? So let me, before going with the demonstration, we just look at its definition first. So a function by becoming a friend of one or more classes can access their properties I hope you are writing, can access their properties and manipulate the same. Manipulate the same, right? So here, how is it possible for a particular function to become a friend of another class, friend of any class, right? It is generally an isolated class. It's a separate class, right? It is an isolated class by giving the prototype preceded with friend keyword. There is a friend keyword we have. Friend keyword. It can become a friend of any class. It can become a friend of any class. Here the condition is if let us say it is becoming a friend of one class or multiple classes, for which all classes it is becoming a friend, all such classes object references must have to be passed as an argument to this particular function. Fine. So all classes are one or all class, we can say, right? One or all classes object references must have to be passed as arguments. Must have to be passed as argument. Okay. In order to become friend of the same. This is a condition. What is the condition? The classes to which this particular function is becoming a friend, all such classes object references must have to be there in the argument. Okay, must have to be there in the argument. This is the condition. Got it? And this function prototype, the function prototype preceded with the friend keyword, okay, preceded with the friend keyword must have to be given under the public mode of all such classes to which it is becoming a friend of the same, right? Is an isolated class. By giving the prototype preceded with friend keyword, it can become a friend of any class, right? Under the public mode, you can say, right? Should be with the public mode. So I have the concept is clear. Now let us look at the syntax here. For example, I have one class ABC, okay? And I have another class, let us say XYZ, okay? And it has some variables. Let us take some variables here. For example, it has some variable A and it has some variable X, no issue. You can have or no issue, whatever you want, you can. So inside this, particular class under the public mode, and is slipping sometimes. Fine. So under the public mode, let us say, for example, I have a function called swap, okay? And this swap function wants to make the friendship with ABC and XYZ. If it wants to make the friendship with both the classes, then as I said, the condition is it must have the object reference of both, yes or no? You can see the ABC object reference and XYZ object reference, fine. And the return type, let us say y. Then the function, this is set to be the function prototype. The function prototype must be preceded with what? Friend keyword, okay? So this kind of specification I should give, okay? Similarly, here as well, under this XYZ public mode, I need to give the same friend void swap ABC ampersand XYZ ampersand, okay? Semicolon. Fine. And then I can have certain function of its own, of course. Fine. You can see here my swap function. This is an isolated function, I said. So it's a normal function. Okay. It's a normal function. It's a normal function. Now, for normal functions, how do you write the code? Like how in C you write, right? Return type function having the argument. So then you write the code inside. Okay. So this particular function swap wants to make the friendship with, let us say, ABC class. Then it must have to have ABC object reference as an argument. And if it wants to make friendship with XYZ class, then it must have to have its object references also as argument. So you can see this swap function is having both ABC and XYZ class object references arguments. Okay. And now, how does it make the friendship? The condition is satisfied. Now, how does it going to make the friendship? To confirm the friendship, it has to give its prototype. The prototype is void swap of ABC ampersand comma XYZ ampersand. So the prototype must be preceded with friend keyword, right? So prototype preceded with the friend keyword must have to be declared under public mode of both the classes. Then the friendship is confirmed. Okay, so once the friendship is confirmed, then it can access the private members. You can see ABC class private member is A, XYZ private member is, let's say, X here, right? So it can access A from ABC, it can access X from XYZ, and it can manipulate in the sense that it can exchange. I can have code here to exchange, rather, right? Taking a temporary variable, I'm having a swapping procedure here. Temp equal to A dot A equal to X dot X, okay, and X dot X equal to temp. So this what happens, swapping of, the private data members of ABC and XYZ is happened. And this is possible, that private data of the classes to which it has become friend can access and can manipulate. That kind of privileges are available, are associated with this particular friend function, right? Actually, function is an isolated function, it's a kind of normal function only, right? But then it is becoming a friend of ABC and XYZ since it is taking both the class object references argument and it is declaring its prototype is with friend keyword under the public mode of the same to confirm the friendship. So once the friendship is confirmed, now it can access the private data of ABC and XYZ. You can see here with the help of A and X, it is able to access and then manipulate. Fine. Let us try to demonstrate this example and then we will ABC constructor I have, let us say A equal to 10. And I have a constructor here XYZ and wherein X equal to, let us say, 20. And I have a print function for ABC, let us say. Okay. This print function is printing what? See out. Simply A dot A, right? A dot A, let us say. And here you have a print function of XYZ, wherein it is printing what? Let us say simply X dot X. Let us try to demonstrate this and then probably see the execution of the same with the help of online compiler. I hope the example is clear to all of you. So in the main function, I can create the objects of ABC like A1 and XYZ, X1, read, you first swap them, say swap. Before swap you can print and then after swap also you can print to show the difference, of course. So let us here first call the print function for A1 and X1, call a1 dot print and x1 dot print, and then call swap function on a1 and x1. So swap function, which is a normal function which is trying to access the private data of both the classes a1 and x1 and try to exchange it. You can see the output by calling print function of a1 and x1 after it has been exchanged, right? So this is the example which I want to demonstrate and show you. Let us look at this example. Okay, it's already 12:05. We'll stop here, otherwise we'll see the demonstration of this example in the next class.